Thank you very much. That was super fun. Very happy to submit my application to this cult. Thank you for inviting me. The theme today is Nomad, so I will take the liberty to walk around and get lost from the path and maybe take a sudden U-turn in my speech, and we might encounter a flock of sheep and have to take another pathway, and etc., etc. But today I'm going to talk about creativity, communication, and curating most of all. I've done many things, trained as a filmmaker, lived in many countries for 9 years abroad, and I've currently been curating for many years, cinema screenings, film festivals, being an artistic director, as a critic, involved in cultural politics. What else? I'm exhausted. I'm tired. It's a long list of things to do. Well, actually, I have a lot of free time. Actually, so most of my time is procrastination. But today I'm talking about curating and the creativity, and maybe how I see nomad and nomadism in that as well sometimes. So it's hard to know how much you understand about the film curating and so on. So forgive me if there's some terminology, but please feel free to ask later. My path to finding my profession has started already when I was a kid. I had very much hard time learning to read at one point, and I remember scenes from my childhood when my mom is trying to bang the book in my head and we're sitting on the floor trying to spell out words. And later I realized that I had made this connection to music and film, which are non-verbal actually. So ever since I was a kid, music and film have been my dearest languages of communication and expression and art, and then came words. I learned to read eventually. So and for me, silent cinema, which was mentioned, which combines visual storytelling, images with music, is the language of Babel. In the early days of cinema, films traveled all around the world, and currently, if we are restoring classic cinema from the early days, from Fritz Lang's Metropolis, what has happened is that we've found films from Brazil, missing pieces, because films traveled all around the world, because they were so easy to just export, because of language, without the language barriers, which came with sound cinema. But nevertheless, I found this as a kid. I found music and film; those were the dearest to me. But I still found struggling that I need to pick a path. I think most of us feel the pressure of if you want to exceed or excel somewhere in some profession, you really need to start before you're born. Your parents need to blast classical music to the uterus to be the next Mozart or something, and you need to put the 10,000 hours. So I felt this conflicting moment, probably this moment here, this unhappy journalist, music critic, stuck in the mud, trying to figure out should I do music or should I do film, and I chose film then, and nevertheless I went to study filmmaking, and then I was still confused at one point after graduating. I was doing loads of different things. I was doing music photography in concerts. I was doing silent film festival, which I will talk later about. I was directing music videos, and I was like, what is this? This is so chaotic. And then I just realized that everything is connected to music and film, which was from my childhood already the two biggest loves. And that felt instantly better. And this is me probably, this is in Croatia, Croatia at a film festival, and figuring out how to make my childhood passions as my livelihood as well. So at one point I had two festivals which were dealing with music and film. This was Loud Silence. This is, I founded with my friend in Tampere in 2013, which the basis of it is silent films, but also contemporary experimental films, but it's always have to be with live music, different bands, ranging from you have one DJ to the full Philharmonic orchestra. And then Oulu Music Video Festival is the longest running music video festival in the world, and I was for 3 years the artistic director of the festival. And these two, once again, music and film, different forms, filmmakers visualizing music or musicians communicating films from 100 years ago, from the past. So this communication between like countries, decades, but through music and film, visual mediums, was really also where I learned all my curating skills. Was really my training ground. And here is one way to illustrate the process of when you found a festival, event, or any kind of project. This applies to many things, also love, falling in love. And ironically, this is about technology. This, the Gardner hype cycle is about like how do we adapt new technologies. For example, AI at the moment is at the peak of inflated expectations. We feel that, or some people feel that it will fix everything. So we're over there with AI. But anyways, here you have a project, you meet someone, you found a festival, rapidly it goes up, excitement. Over here you feel that everyone's gonna come to your festival. It's something that is been lacking in the world, no one's doing it. Here you have your first festival. But after the debrief, you realize that you're going to do it again. You learn some stuff, and this is a very important part. Like in here, you're thinking that you need more chairs. You're going to run out of chairs. But somewhere along here with your event, you're actually going to need more chairs. People are turning up. And here, you're making something wonderful. You actually have a healthy, non-toxic, safe relationship with your festival. And you're proud. It's real. So all those kind of curve points have really helped me to develop different set of guidelines, rules. I don't really think of these unless I'm talking to someone or like talking to colleagues or something, or telling to younger curators, I might use these, but I think they're now very intuitive for me in terms of decision making. The first one is very obvious and clear that curation matters now more than ever. We have massive amounts of visual imagery, flow of information. We need people, not machines, shifting through what is important, what is essential, and also making connections with different things. Audience experience matters. That's why I wanted to found a film festival that was very much in the present, that we have live music. It's not something that you can get from Netflix online. Like, we want to come together and be face-to-face as humans. Organizing, curating, it's more than organizing, it's storytelling. Putting two things together, you create compelling narratives. And those narratives, then when you identify stories and topics, it also improves the communication to the outside world. And this is something I learned here very much, because most of my team was journalists. My friends were working in the biggest media companies, well, like newspapers, and they were asking like, okay, what are we gonna show, what films? And I was like, yeah, this and this. And they said, why? And I said, it's good. And then they said, no one cares. And that was obviously very disappointing to me, that no one cares that it's a good film. But they, as journalists, felt that you have to have more. If a journalist is gonna write to a newspaper about your festival and film and your event, or whatever art exhibition, it's easier for them to have a story, topic, theme, which is why most art journalism is revolving around some certain themes and topics, and also curating, because it's easier to latch on, because you can't just say, well, this is a good film. It's brutal truth, actually. But it was very good because it improved my curating as well, because I was looking for stories. And I'll give some practical examples of these, and they have stories around them, and that made them instantly better. I will jump into the examples. Apply any tool and method you like. This is another example. You can take from technology a graph and talk about love and festivals. So, and also SWOT analysis, like even those kind of LinkedIn corporate things that I'm not a fan of, but I've used them, and they can be useful. Something for the theme of today. Basically, what I love about film is that it's really a nomadic machine. It's a time machine, but it's a space machine as well. We can travel to early 20th century Tunisia. We can go to the 1973 coup in Chile. We can go to these places, distant lands. We can learn from different cultures through film very easily. And what I like also to do nowadays, and what I've done in my work in Curating Kino Regina in Helsinki, is having these double bills where two films from different eras, different countries are communicating across space and time. For example, like American film from the 50s and Spanish film from the 90s, or French film from the 60s and American film from the 90s, both talking about Japanese samurai culture. So very different way. You have an ultra cool hitman, and then you have a hip hop Zen guy on the rooftops of New York. But they're all kind of communicating across borders through time and space. So this is also why I love film and film history, because you can find these connections and then you put them together, and to quote the Spice Girls, to become one. Yeah, so medium as a spectacle is another, this is an example of the audience experience matters. This is something we did where you have many different screens of 60mm projectors, you have a live band, and you're in the audience you're in the cinema with the projectors, so you actually see the film projection happening. So instead of being at home and seeing just watching the film on Netflix, you are experiencing the film all around you. So it's a very all-encompassing experience. And these are the things that why would you come to the cinema? Because it's happening right here and now, and you get something out of it in that sense as well. Curating your own content. I produced a short film. This is not my festival. This is Midnight Sun Film Festival, where we screened the film as well with live music, and then we toured around the world with it, live music, with live screenings, and also just distributing on its own. But if there are event producers or curators here, like just thinking outside the boxes of like that, you don't always have to just take what others are doing. You can actually create stuff for yourself. You can commission stuff, and that's also why the festival was very fulfilling, because we were always doing our own content, and this was like the peak example of that. And this is related to also a story. that we actually had the press release before we even made the film or we had the festival, because my journalist friends and I were really thinking about the idea and the story about it. Basically, the first Finnish film is Lost from 1907, and this was the year Finland was turning 100. There was all these celebrations, and we decided, like, let's remake the first Finnish film ever. For the independence year, we need to have our first Finnish film. And I asked Juho Kuosmanen, who had just won in Cannes a prize in the film festival, and our press release was like, Cannes winner directs the first Finnish film ever. So we already had the story before we had the film, or we had the screenings, and then luckily we made the film. And but that was an example that we were thinking, like, what is interesting kind of story-wise, and then like also creating content. So this is an example where everything came together. Another example from that year is that where we applied the SWOT analysis of, like, what is it, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. We had a problem because it's in Tampere, which is a massive ice hockey city, and we were joking around that ice hockey is taking our audience because the playoffs were at the same time as our festival, and we were like, ha ha ha, they're going to see ice hockey, not our niche experimental festival. But then it turned out that it was actually true, because the head of the film center went to watch ice hockey. One musician's husband went to see ice hockey and not come hear her play. So we were like, we're going to screen ice hockey. So that's what we did. This was the same year as the 2017. This was the Finland anniversary. So we were like saying, once again, the story behind it is that we're going to screen the quintessential Finnish independence struggle, 1995 Finland-Sweden final, World Cup final. And it was the best night of my life. It was like, we had jerseys for the band. I had a hockey jersey with my name on it, and we had the bar open. Everyone was laughing, ecstatic. They played Finlandia, everything, then Curating. They were really on board with the whole thing. And this was, I like this. And also Helsingin Sanomat wrote a year later about this screening. They were like, I think the headline of the column was that Finland won and I cried. No, it was not the ice hockey games, it was a silent film festival. So we managed to create a story for the journalists as well with that. But I also like this for the fact that it came from, like, recognizing a need, or like, yeah, opportunities and threats. I don't know. Ice hockey can be a threat. That's the final message. To finish off, I think maybe I've been very quick. Good. To finish off with Derek Jarman, I had the title of this little talk was "My Garden's Boundaries Are the Horizon," and it's a quote from Derek Jarman's diary, Modern Nature. And he was a British filmmaker, artist, a painter, and he had this, towards the end of his life, he had this wonderful notion that he bought a cottage after he had been diagnosed with HIV. But instead of, like, I think I would, or like some people would, like, be paralyzed with fear and hopelessness, he started cultivating a garden. He bought the cottage, and it was a really desolate area, and there was even, like, it's not a very pretty place, but there's like I think a factory or some kind of industrial complex nearby. But despite that, he started pushing boundaries. When the walls are closing in, he was looking for new ways of making and creating, and not letting the hopelessness of the situation, which he eventually passed away from, define him, but he went further. And I think hopefully in the spirit of nomadism, I think everyone should look at their life and their creativity and work in general as the boundaries are the horizon. And here's the garden now, which is, I think this is 2020 or something, this image, which is very beautiful. Yes, thank you.